In this video, we're diving into how pre-existing medical conditions work with travel insurance and what travelers are usually required to declare before purchasing a policy. Many people assume travel insurance will automatically cover any medical situation that happens during a trip, but the reality is that insurance policies often treat pre-existing conditions differently from unexpected illnesses or injuries. I'm Erin from Insurance Wise, and on this channel, we break down insurance topics so you can understand what you're actually paying for and how coverage works before you need it. Let's start by looking at what the website looks like when travelers first begin exploring travel insurance options. Before we walk through the website together, if you want to check coverage options for your own trip while watching this video, you can use our Faye travel insurance link in the description below. That link will take you to the same page we're about to go through, so you can follow along and see how the process works using your own travel dates and destination. Now let's take a look at what the site looks like when you first land on it. So this page introduces the idea that travel insurance is something travelers usually review while they're planning their trip rather than waiting until the last minute. Many travelers start researching insurance around the time they're booking flights, hotels, or tours, and at that stage they already know their destination and travel dates, which makes it a natural time to review insurance options as well. Looking at coverage early can also be important when it comes to understanding how policies treat pre-existing medical conditions. Because policies are designed to cover unexpected situations, travelers often need to review coverage details and disclosure requirements before purchasing a policy. As you scroll down the page, the site starts outlining how travelers move from planning a trip to exploring coverage. Travel insurance generally starts with entering your trip information and reviewing available policy options. Once a traveler has coverage set up, they can access their policy information while traveling if they need to review coverage details or request assistance. Support during a trip can become relevant if something unexpected happens and a traveler needs guidance related to their policy. From the moment travelers start planning their trip through the time they're traveling, insurance policies are designed to support situations that may arise during that period. As you continue scrolling, the page highlights different types of trips travelers might be planning. Some trips are domestic, while others involve international travel or cruise itineraries. The type of trip can influence what travelers review when looking at coverage. So for example, international travel may involve unfamiliar healthcare systems and medical costs that differ from what travelers are used to at home. Because of that, travelers often review medical coverage details closely, especially when considering how policies handle pre-existing medical conditions. Understanding the type of trip helps travelers start thinking about what types of protection they may want to review before moving forward. So here is an overview of the types of protection travel insurance policies can include. One category relates to medical situations that may occur during travel. Emergency medical coverage can apply if a traveler experiences an unexpected illness or injury during their trip. However, policies often distinguish between unexpected medical issues and pre-existing medical conditions, which is why reviewing policy details becomes important. Another category relates to changes to the trip. So for example, trip interruption coverage may apply if a traveler has to end a trip early due to certain covered events. Trip delay coverage may apply when travel plans are delayed due to situations like weather disruptions or transportation issues. The page also highlights coverage related to belongings such as baggage that may be damaged, lost, or delayed during travel. Together, these categories give travelers a general overview of the types of situations travel insurance policies are designed to address. So here are testimonials or feedback from travelers who have used the service during their trips. These reviews often mention experiences during travel disruptions, communication with support teams, or situations where travelers needed assistance while abroad. For someone researching travel insurance options, this section provides examples of how coverage may apply in real travel situations. Once travelers start exploring coverage options, one of the most important topics to understand is how policies treat pre-existing medical conditions, so this is where many travelers have questions. What counts as a pre-existing condition? A pre-existing condition generally refers to a medical condition that existed before the travel insurance policy was purchased. This could include ongoing treatments, diagnosed conditions, or situations where someone recently received medical advice or medication related to a health issue. Different insurance providers may define pre-existing conditions slightly differently, which is why reviewing the policy terms is important. Some policies include a look-back period, which means their insurance providers may review medical history within a specific time frame before the policy purchase. If a medical condition was diagnosed, treated, or discussed with a doctor during that look-back period, it may be considered pre-existing under the policy. Because of that, travelers often need to disclose certain medical information when purchasing coverage. Examples of pre-existing conditions. To make this a little easier to understand, it helps to look at a few examples of what insurance companies may consider a pre-existing condition. For example, imagine someone who has been managing high blood pressure and regularly takes medication prescribed by their doctor. Even if that condition is stable and under control, it could still fall into the category of a pre-existing condition, depending on the policy. Another example might be someone who recently visited their doctor because of chest pain or another symptom that required medical attention. Even if the issue was resolved, the fact that it occurred during the policy's look-back period could cause it to be treated as a pre-existing condition. Chronic conditions such as diabetes, asthma, or heart disease may also fall under the category because they involve ongoing medical care or monitoring. In some cases, even something as simple as a medication change or follow-up appointment with a doctor can be relevant when determining whether a condition existed before the policy purchase. This doesn't automatically mean the traveler can't purchase insurance. It simply means the policy may include specific rules about how that condition is handled. That's why reviewing the policy details carefully is important before buying coverage. Why the look-back period matters. One concept that often confuses travelers is the look-back period, so it's helpful to talk about why it exists. The look-back period is essentially the window of time an insurance company reviews when determining whether a condition existed before the policy began. For example, if a policy has a 90-day look-back period, the insurer may review medical events that happened during the 90 days before the policy purchase. If a traveler saw a doctor, started medication, experienced symptoms, or received treatment related to a condition during that time frame, the insurer may classify that condition as pre-existing. This rule helps insurance providers determine whether a medical event was truly unexpected or something that already existed before the policy started. That distinction is important because travel insurance policies are generally designed to cover unexpected situations that occur during a trip. Why declaring medical conditions matter. Declaring relevant medical information helps ensure the policy accurately reflects the traveler's situation. Insurance policies are designed to cover unexpected events rather than situations that were already known before the policy was purchased. That's why disclosure requirements are part of how insurance works. Providing accurate information when reviewing coverage options helps travelers understand how their policy may apply to their trip. What happens if you don't declare a condition? One question that comes up often is what happens if someone forgets or chooses not to disclose a medical condition? Travel insurance policies rely on the information provided during the purchase process. If a claim is submitted later, the insurance company may review medical records to understand the situation. If a condition that existed before the policy purchase was not disclosed and the claim is related to that condition, the policy terms may affect how the claim is handled. This is why insurance companies emphasize disclose during the application process. Providing accurate information upfront helps ensure the policy reflects the traveler's situation and avoids confusion later if a claim is filed. For travelers, the goal is simply to understand the policy terms and make sure the coverage aligns with their travel plans. Pre-existing condition waivers. Another topic that often comes up when discussing travel insurance is something called a pre-existing condition waiver. Some travel insurance policies include an option where pre-existing conditions may still be eligible for coverage if certain requirements are met. One common requirement is purchasing the policy with a specific number of days after the traveler makes their first trip payment. For example, someone might book a flight or cruise and then purchase travel insurance shortly afterward. If the policy includes a waiver option and the traveler meets the requirements, certain pre-existing conditions may still be eligible for coverage under that policy. These requirements often include purchasing the policy within a certain time frame, being medically able to travel when the policy is purchased, and ensuring the full cost of the trip. The exact details vary between insurance providers, which is why reviewing the policy documentation is important before making a decision. Why travelers review this before booking? For many travelers, understanding how pre-existing conditions are treated becomes part of the trip planning process. Someone planning an international trip may want to review medical coverage options before leaving the country, especially if they have an ongoing health condition. Traveling abroad can involve unfamiliar healthcare systems and different medical costs, so reviewing insurance policies ahead of time allows travelers to see how coverage may apply. That way, travelers can decide whether a policy fits their travel plan before they leave for their trip. Understanding how pre-existing conditions are defined, how look-back periods work, and what disclosure requirements exist help travelers make informed decisions when exploring travel insurance options. Questions travelers should ask before buying a policy. Before purchasing travel insurance, many travelers find it helpful to review a few key questions related to pre-existing conditions. One important question is whether the policy includes a look-back period, and if so, how long that period is. As we discussed earlier, the look-back period is the time frame an insurance company reviews to determine whether a medical condition existed before the policy was purchased. For example, some policies may review the previous 60 days, while others may look back 90 days or even longer. Understanding this time frame helps travelers see whether any recent medical visits or treatments could fall within that period. Another question travelers often review is whether the policy offers a pre-existing condition waiver. Some travel insurance policies allow certain conditions to still be eligible for coverage if the policy is purchased within a specific time frame after the first trip payment. For example, if someone books a flight, cruise, or tour package and then purchases travel insurance shortly afterward, the policy may include a waiver option depending on the provider and the policy terms. Travelers may also want to review the medical coverage limits listed in the policy. These limits describe the maximum amount the policy may cover for certain medical situations during a trip. For international travel, some travelers review these limits carefully because healthcare systems and medical costs can vary depending on the destination. Another thing travelers often review is how the policy handles emergency medical evacuation. In some situations, travelers may need transportation to a hospital or medical facility during a trip, and evacuation coverage explains how these situations may be handled under the policy. Taking the time to review these details before purchasing a policy helps travelers understand how coverage works and what information may need to be disclosed during the purchase process. By understanding how pre-existing conditions are defined, how look-back periods work, and what questions to review before buying coverage, travelers can approach travel insurance with a clear understanding of how policies apply to their trip. If you want to explore travel insurance options for your own trip, you can use our Faye travel insurance link in the description below to review coverage options and see how policies appear when entering your travel information. And if you want to learn more about how travel insurance works before planning your next trip, make sure you're subscribed because we'll be covering more travel planning and insurance topics here on the channel. I'm Erin from Insurance Wise. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.